Hey everyone, my name is Farmer Rishi and I'm here representing Kiss the Ground. And what I want to talk to you today is I want to talk to you about something that's very dear to me as a small farmer and urban gardener, and that is soil. To me, soil, I think of soil as the skin of the earth. It's like the earth's largest organ. And soil, we might not think about that often, but soil is actually so important to every facet of our lives. Our food comes from soil, our clothing comes from soil, our building materials come from soil, and really we come from soil, and how we treat soil is really a reflection of how we treat ourselves. So if you don't know, soil is actually also one of the largest potential stores of carbon dioxide, of carbon on the planet. Right now, we have a lot of carbon dioxide excess in the atmosphere, and through the power of plants, through the power of microorganisms, we actually have the ability to turn that carbon dioxide in the atmosphere into soil carbon in the soil, which it actually means having more fertile soil, having healthier plants, and having healthier food. So let me show you what that looks like here in a small space like this. This is my patio garden, totally on a concrete area, and I want to show you some soil. I want to show you how I contribute to that soil's health even in this tiny space. So let's take a look here, because what I want you to see is that maybe what you're familiar with as soil is really you're familiar with soil that hasn't been treated well. So maybe you don't know exactly what healthy soil looks like or how it acts. I know a lot of people, I teach a lot of gardening classes, and a lot of people have struggled growing any plants at home because they are trying to feed the plant. And what we don't realize is it's really more important, and what our focus should be is to feed the soil, because the soil is the home for the plant. And you can see how well some of the plants that I've got growing are doing here. We have zucchinis, we have peppers, we have tomatoes that are already 5 feet tall, and they're going to get longer and longer. I'm going to drape them over this trellis here, and it all starts with the healthy soil. So let's dig deep in here. Okay, so as you can see, I've got some leaves that I've cut up, actually some used celery on the surface, and then as I dig into this, look at the color of this soil. Okay, look at that deep, rich black color, and look what we find in here. We've got a little worm, and that worm is doing her job of converting some of the bulkier materials down into finer stuff that the plants can then access the nutrients from. And this soil is basically a home to millions, billions, possibly trillions of microorganisms. They say in each handful of healthy soil there are more microbes than there are people on Earth. And what I do, my job as a gardener is really to take care of the soil, to feed the soil, to give the soil water, to give it shelter, just like any other living being, right? We have to remember that soil is living, so we have to treat soil as though it's living, right? That only makes sense. And so how do you care for soil? Basically the same ways that you care for yourself. You feed, you provide water, you provide shelter, you care and you love. And so what I want to show you today next is just a really quick way that you can actually get involved with the care of soil using a lot of materials that you probably already have and probably are throwing away. So check this out. This is my first sun gold cherry tomato growing in my little raised bed here. And this is actually part of the food cycle of the soil. So we harvest food from the soil, and then the food that we don't eat, we can actually feed back to the soil, and that's what comes down to composting over here. So one of the things we talk about at Kiss the Ground is that there is really no such thing as waste. food waste is actually gifts for the soil. And we can take all of our food scraps from the kitchen, banana peels, avocado skins, got banana peel again. Anything that's left over from our kitchen preparations, we can actually turn into compost. We can even turn things like newspaper into compost. We can turn hair, nails into compost. So much of our waste is actually a gift for the soil. And I'm going to show you a really easy way that you can compost, especially food scraps, in any place, on a patio, on a balcony, in a garden, inside your house, inside a building, or maybe even on a film set. So let's learn how we can compost anywhere with worms. We're gonna learn about worm composting right here. So let's open up my worm bin here. You can see this is a really small little container. It has like a 2 foot by 2 foot footprint, so it can really fit in a lot of small spaces. And if we open up, what we see is that, you know, I've been actually feeding a lot of my food scraps into this bin for the last several months. My wife and I do a lot of cooking at home, and in this bin we have months and months of food scraps, and they've been turned into this beautiful compost by the worms. So you see in there, these red worms, they are doing the action here. They are turning my food scraps into this gold that will feed the soil. It's full of microbes, full of nutrients, just the perfect food for my garden soil. And all I gotta do is just feed my leftovers right into this bin. I'm gonna toss a little bit on top, and I've got some of the shredded newspaper in there, and some leaves. If you have a garden, if you have dried leaves, you can put those in there. Thin stems of plants, these worms will eat it all up. And it's really that simple. The most important thing with a worm bin is that you not feed too much. So I actually have 4 different worm bins here in my apartment, and between those four worm bins, we're able to compost most of the food scraps that we produce as 2 people in our family. So really, what I want to share with you is that we have the power to actually make these changes at home. We have the power to make these changes in our businesses, and these simple steps, little things, just understanding how, the basic organs of the earth function. If we can understand that, we can actually contribute. We don't need to reduce our footprint of damage. We can actually increase our footprint of care. So I hope this message reaches you, and I hope you start composting at home. It's a really easy way for any of us to get involved with caring for the earth and caring for ourselves. If you want to learn more about composting, check out kisstheground.com. Our organization does a lot to promote regenerative agriculture as a solution to climate change, and regenerative gardening as a way for people to get involved with making caring, positive impacts for the earth at home. Thanks.